Hey guys, welcome back. Sheldon here, and I do apologize for the late video for Far Cry Primal, but I only got my review code this morning. So I put the code in, downloaded the game, and this has probably been the most difficult game I've ever had to install, or at least ever had to load. After having downloaded the 16 gigs, and I tried to load the game for the first time, I kept on getting the error. Now, I'd imagine this is the same error that the majority of users on Steam were getting, where they were unable to connect due to some firewall problem. And so I can verify, since my version is a Uplay version, that the issue is not exclusive to Steam. And in fact, disabling my firewall didn't actually prevent the error either. I basically had to remove the firewall entirely from my computer before I could run the game, so that the Uplay server authentication could be happy. After that, I basically had to reinstall everything. You shouldn't have to go through all of these things just to get a game to run. I'm not surprised that they've gotten all the downvotes in the Steam section for reviews for this game, and I would have to say that I think it's well deserved. It's absolutely not acceptable that a game can launch with these kinds of issues. But with that out of the way, let's take a look at the options that are in the PC version. So first up, we have gameplay, and as you can see, we've got a bunch of different gameplay assists. We have aim assist. Obviously, if you're using a gamepad, this is something that perhaps is quite necessary. We have melee assist. Now, I don't understand why this is even here. Do players need help hitting someone with a club? Is it difficult to aim at the guy who's standing right in front of you? That option confuses me. Weapon aim as a toggle or hold. Crouch type as a toggle on hold. On-screen menus you can have as a toggle or hold. Search animations and story recaps. Now, I want to say with search animations is I think this is going to get old real quick, and I'm really glad that they've put the option in here to disable it. I think after an hour or so that I've played, let's say 2 hours, I'm already getting quite tired of the animations of when you're cutting down trees and searching dead bodies and everything like this. So to save yourself some time, just disable this. I don't think you need it. I don't think it adds too much to the game. So moving over to the interface section, we can see we have language options. I'm running the European version of the game, so you can see there's a bunch of language settings appropriate to that. And we have a bunch of other interface options that can be turned on or off. To give you an idea, there are a fair amount, like disabling reticule, detection meter, hit indicators, health indicators, minimap, throwable warnings, ammo warnings, XP displays. One thing that stands out is minimap opacity. It's nice that there's an option here to change it to low through to high, depending on what your preference for that is. Trail on minimap, on-screen controls, interaction prompts, objectives, that kind of thing. And as you can see, as I scroll here, I'm going to pause just so you can read through them. There are quite a large number of indicators. I'm glad to see that there's so much customization that you can do in the game. Moving down to keyboard and mouse, we can see we have mouse acceleration and acceleration values as per most games these days, invert look, mouse sensitivity, and customized controls, with a nice little diagram on the left here showing you where the currently mapped key is. Now, I think that in so many of the new games I've seen they've got primary and alternative buttons for each of the commands, so it's a little bit disappointing to see that that's not available here. It's not a deal breaker, it's not a game breaker at all, obviously. There are buttons mapped for basically every single action in the game that you can possibly think of, so you can customize that to your liking. But for those of you who are hoping for alternative button sets, you're pretty much out of luck in this customization controls scheme. Moving down to the gamepad settings, we have control scheme. Now, this was a bit confusing at first. I do have a gamepad plugged in. If I switch to it, you can see the back button has changed. It says set your gamepad layout. I don't see any way to change the actual layout. All I see here is gamepad. I'd imagine if I had other ones plugged in, I could cycle between them. But this is not changing the gamepad layout. It's basically showing me the gamepad layout, but I don't see any way to customize that at all. Otherwise, we have invert look, invert flying pitch, look sensitivity, shoulder swap, that's shoulder lefty stick vibration, and touchpad settings. And moving to video settings, everything you'd expect to find in a AAA title here. You can choose which of your displays the game is going to be on, which is your main monitor. There are a bunch of resolutions, and they're divided by the aspect ratio. So depending, it's got 16:10, 16:9, 4:3, all that kind of thing. You can switch here and then change the resolutions within that category over here. We have refresh rate listed at 60. Now, I'm running on a 60 Hz monitor, so I don't know if the game supports a higher refresh rate than 60. That's something you'd have to check around for. Since I don't have a monitor that supports that, there's no way that I can change this, so I do not know. Under windowed mode, we have full screen, windowed, borderless windowed, and borderless full screen. We have VSync. I have that disabled for the purposes of this particular video. And then we have graphics quality. Now this is basically a preset selection, so it goes all the way from low all the way through to ultra. If you have a multi-monitor, you could set up a HUD to fit to the displays. Heading over to quality settings, again you find the same presets up here. This is the same as the button in the previous menu. Or you could basically just set each of these things, for instance textures, shadows, post FX, geometry, terrain, water, environment, anti-aliasing. Now I've disabled one of my GTX 970s for this video, so you can see you have between FXAA and SMAA to choose from or off. If you're running on an SLI setup like I usually do, you won't have access to SMAA. This is not a form of anti-aliasing that works with SLI setups. So if you do have SLI, you will be stuck with FXAA. We have volumetric fog and motion blur. So we got a bunch of different settings here, and they all range from low through to high, and some of them go to very high or ultra. So you can customize this to suit your system specs. So moving into the audio slider, we have master volume and music on and off. And that's it. Really, Ubisoft? That's all you could do for audio settings? One volume slider for a AAA game? I wonder if it's something that they can patch in. I do hope they do that. I mean, there's indie games that have more options than this. Seriously. Yeah. I don't even know what else to say. I'm speechless. And that's it for the settings that are available in the game. There is a built-in benchmark that will currently be playing now as I talk. So first up, we are running with SLI, both cards, and we're running the game settings on the Ultra preset. We can see that the frame rates dropped down to 39 at the lowest point, currently sitting at 48. Not particularly great, to be honest. This frame rate is particularly low considering the system spec that it's being run on. Now, I've said before, my CPU is relatively old, but it is an i7 and I do have 12 gigabytes of RAM. And I do understand that the CPU is going to have some performance impact on games, but not the kind of performance impact that I'm seeing here on the screen. I don't think, and keeping in mind that VSync is off as well, there's no way that GTX 970s in SLI should be getting such a low frame rate. Now I'm running the same benchmark again, obviously with a low preset with both cards, and we can see that the frame rate is almost the same. There's not a large variance here. We did see it drop to 39 in the previous test, so it's not dropping to 39 now. There's maybe a 5 frames per second gain from the tests I've run, and at most there's maybe an 8 to 10 frame gain on the top end. So the variance is smaller with the minimum frame rate and slightly larger with the maximum. On two 970s I'm only getting 71 at max on this setting. So here's something interesting. Running on a single card with the Ultra preset, the frame rate, yes, as expected, is going to be lower than the SLI setup, but not a whole lot. I mean, we can see it's dropping down to 42. The lowest I thought was 35, 37 in the other times that I've run this benchmark. Sitting at 50 now. So, I mean, the difference between an SLI setup and a single card is not large. It's using 99% of the GPU, and again you can see the CPU is using 100% on one core and not so much on the others. Here's an interesting thing. If you look at the frame rate, you can see there's a massive frame rate increase on low preset with a single card. In fact, these frame rates are not quite double, but significantly higher than SLI on the same settings. So this demonstrates that there's clearly an issue with the SLI scaling at the moment with this game, even though I'm currently using the Nvidia drivers that have been specifically released for this particular game. You can see on the screen at the moment we have an easy comparison for you guys to see. There isn't a big difference between Ultra and on SLI and Ultra on single, and even max frames on SLI and max frame on single. In fact, it may even be a smoother experience just to disable one of your cards if you are running SLI. However, if you look at the low SLI settings, you can see there's a massive difference between the single card and the SLI performance, and the single card performs better in every single respect than using SLI if you are going to run on lower detail settings. So again, as I've said earlier, there's clearly some kind of issue going on with the SLI scaling in this game. It needs to be fixed. It really surprises me when these games are released in this state and they don't support SLI, even though Nvidia's got an SLI profile. It's something that's obviously going to need to be patched, and I do hope that they fix it. So I don't know if my situation is worse or better than some others out there. I know there have been a lot of complaints on the Steam forums about the performance of this game, and I don't think it's acceptable that so many of these new titles are releasing in this unoptimized state. Fallout 4, Rise of the Tomb Raider, XCOM, and the list goes on. But anyway, this was a quick look at the performance you can expect in Far Cry Primal. Hopefully they will release a patch to sort out these issues in not too long. I hope this video was a little bit helpful and that you enjoyed it. I've been Xiaoling. Until next time. Hey guys, welcome back. Xiaoling here, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the Hitman PC beta that was released yesterday for those who pre-ordered the game. Now this video is predominantly going to be talking about the currently available settings in the PC version of the game, as well as a little Xiaoling here. I just thought I'd upload this quick video on an update on how the performance fixes for XCOM have come along in the last week or so. So basically Nvidia released a specific driver that was for XCOM enabling SLI to work properly.